Bula, I'm Wame. Join me every weekday from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. on The Center Show with classic hits from the 70s as well as the 80s right here on Gold FM.
Tonight's Information Ministry begins work on restoring historic videos and pictures of Fiji's national events. Penny Mau cleared of abuse of office charges in the Suva High Court. And restaurant grading system to warn of unhygienic eateries. Good evening, I'm Jackie Spate and you're watching FBC News. Moments of our history will come alive again with efforts to restore video footage that has, until now, been wasting away in our national archives. A major restoration and digitization process will save irreplaceable footage of Fiji's colonial past, sporting achievements and cultural events. Roland Karoy with the story.
Prince Charles arrives to start his 6-day program.
Some of these pictures date back to the early 1940s, the only pieces of video of a bygone era. All in all, the National Archives has more than 2,000 reels of historical audiovisual footage that doesn't exist anywhere else in the world. Unfortunately, due to old age, not all will be saved.
It's just been neglected. I think past governments just didn't focus on this culture and the heritage of Fiji. You know, when we looked at it, and we realised the value of it, and it's extremely valuable because it's Fiji's history, a complete history.
Because of the technology involved in salvaging these historic images, close to $1 million is needed. These are Fijian soldiers preparing for deployment to Malaya in the Solomon Islands during World War II. Once the restoration is complete, this will be available to members of the public.
There'll be different mechanisms for how you get that. If you don't have a computer, then it'll be on a DVD and we'll send it out to schools, or you'll be able to research on it.
The plan is to eventually have these videos posted online so that they can be accessed from anywhere in the world. These pictures, both audio-visual and still images, have been lying dormant for decades. Most were viewed just once or twice and stored away here at the National Archives. Through all these years, nothing was done to preserve them, but come December, they will be ready for viewing, taking us back in time, back into Fiji's history. Roland Karoy, FBC News.
Former Post-Fiji Managing Director Tevita Penny Mau and former General Manager Dhirendra Pratap have been found not guilty in the Suva High Court. The three assessors delivered a not guilty verdict on the charge of abuse of office against Mau and a charge of extortion by public office against Pratap. FICAC alleged that in 2006, Mau approved the payment of $5,400 to Pratap without the authority of the Post-Fiji board. Pratap is alleged to have accepted the payment as reward for his performance of his duty as General Manager Finance. The ruling will be delivered at 10 a.m. tomorrow. Several roads in Lautoka City are flooded and closed to traffic tonight. The Fiji Roads Authority is advising commuters and motorists to take caution when travelling through and around Lautoka. Roads affected include the Saru Bridge on Danus Road, which was under more than half a metre of water at 4 p.m. The Saru Back Road is currently underwater as well. Earlier this afternoon, there was some minor flooding on the Queens Highway near the Lautoka Depot and at Ndravuni Street. Weather reports indicate that Lautoka received 140 millimetres of rain since 8 a.m. today, while Nandi received 65 millimetres. Heavy rain is forecast for Vitilevu, Yasawa, the Mamanuthas and Kandavu. A flash flood warning is also in place for these areas. Restaurant inspection in line with food safety regulations have been underway since last month. Starting next month, all restaurants will be subject to a grading system which ranks them based on cleanliness, hygiene and food preparation methods. As Chanel Sivan reports, inspectors have recently completed training on what to look for.
By mid-June, all restaurants will have labels showing their standard of food safety compliance, and municipal health officers are now on the lookout.
Most of them are already on the ground and assessing the restaurants in individual municipalities and outside municipal councils. And soon most of the consumers will be able to make a choice as to what restaurant or which eateries they should go in. And within few months the grading should be already on their premises.
Deep Chand is the head of food safety at the Ministry of Health and says many restaurants have asked for re-inspection so that they can avoid a poor rating. Once the exercise is in full swing, consumers will be able to decide how clean the restaurant is and if it's worth the meal. Restaurant owners will also have to meet strict hygiene standards.
We have 4 letter grading. i.e. Number 1, the best restaurant would be graded A, and the second would be B and C. Those restaurants which fall below C, that is D, will be automatically closed, and they will be given time to comply, and a re-inspection will be done to see if they comply and improve their grading before they can operate.
In the few weeks that remain, restaurant owners are expected to improve their operations or risk a poor health rating. Chanel Shivan, FBC News.
The chair of the Pacific Plan Review Team, Sir Mekere Morauta, says many Pacific governments and people are concerned about Fiji's absence from foreign meetings. At the Pacific Plan Regional Consultative Meeting in Suva today, the former PNG Prime Minister said they heard this concern during regional consultations. He also said that he met Prime Minister Vorenge Bainimarama last December to inform him of the review, and that they're arranging a meeting with Fiji government representatives in the next few months. The team has been mandated by foreign leaders to review the Pacific Plan strategy for strengthening regional cooperation and integration in the Pacific. Coming up, USP takes on the fight against NCDs with its first ever Health Week.
How would you like to spend your morning? You could spend your morning like this. Or you could spend it like this.
Tune in to the Morning Ride every weekday morning from 9 a.m. till 12 p.m. right here on Today FM, Today's Hit Music.
Nimbula, methangu nimilote na isoro tambua. Nama kia umina rua kina ona na via kavi moniti kina wakaromuka. Rongo mena via sana kina vipa ka barota kini ndreko malolo. Ena Radio Fiji 1 na wongani via niano. Ngai nama kia kina.
Welcome back. You're watching FBC News. The Finance Ministry expects capital spending to kick off soon based on 2013 budget allocations. Permanent Secretary Philimoni Wangambadha says so far ministries and departments have been in the planning stage and major spending is expected to begin from here on. He says it's common for capital works to be undertaken in the second half of the year.
When we look at our performance up to the end of last month, there is still underperformance in our operating, our capital expenditure, all within budget. And the tendency is that it begins to pick up during the second half of the year. But so overall, we are still within our budget.
Wangambadha also says any changes to the economic growth forecast for this year will come after studying the first quarter results for this year. Cabinet has agreed to a review of speed limits around the country. This was confirmed to FBC News by LTA CEO Naisa Tuinadeva, who says work is well underway to determine what changes will be made.
Right now, we're working on that with the relevant agencies and other bodies. We're doing a consultation now, a bit of survey work, and that is the next step now, the speed review. We talk about speed review, it's a review. It could be an increase in speed limit, or it could be a decrease, it could be a variation of speed limits on a particular location.
Drivers in the capital city have been calling for an increase in the speed limit along the Suva-Nausori corridor because they believe it is the answer to traffic congestions that usually occurs during peak hours. USP has launched its first Health Week at the Laudala campus in an effort to encourage healthier living. Epeli Tukuasa reports there will be activities and displays showing how to make better choices when it comes to eating.
Thousands of students and staff at the USP's Lautala campus are being targeted in the university's efforts to reduce non-communicable diseases.
The goal is to have people take more responsibility so that they are not so dependent on healthcare, because we know that everybody needs to be working hard to support their children, their families' children. Quite often they're looking after this.
A major concern for the USP is the number of premature deaths of staff members in the last few years, all due to lifestyle diseases. That has prompted the institution to create awareness on healthy living.
I happen to think that you're not much good to anybody if you die on the job, and unfortunately several staff in the last year have died prematurely. People in Fiji live about 10, sometimes 20 years shorter than people in countries with better health care.
Students and staff have been encouraged to make use of the facilities at USP and to make the right choices.
USP staff and students, almost 3/4 of the working day would be spent here on campus. So it's a good investment to use several minutes or an hour of that day to actively participate in activities that will add value to your personal health and wellness.
The theme for the 6-day event is Invest in Yourself. Epeli Tukuasa, FBC News.
As preparations continue for the ordination of Archbishop Father Peter Lloyd Chong, FBCTV has confirmed it will carry live coverage of the event next month. An agreement was signed between Vicar General Father Beniamino Kalontau and the Fiji Broadcasting Corporation today. Father Kalontau says the ordination has captured a lot of attention and the church wants all Fijians to witness this historic event.
The ordination have touched different nationalities in the church and the Chinese community and also the many other communities that are around. They have volunteered to be part of the celebration of some of them. They have, like the Indian community of their mandali, they partake in the hymns and so on and so forth.
The ceremony will be held at the Vodafone Arena on Saturday, 8th June. The Pacific Islands Private Sector Organization has launched a 3-year strategic plan to enhance private sector development. AusAid Minister Councillor John Davidson says the private sector is a key driver for sustainable economic development. Christopher Chand reports.
Heads of the private sector from 14 Pacific Island countries are brainstorming on growing and strengthening this sector. PIPSO is the regional representative body that plays a key role in developing our economies.
It's established towards expanded areas of focus, including strengthening private sector engagement in national and regional policy development, further enabling business and trade competitiveness, and pursuing its role as a facilitator of dialogue between the private and public sectors.
Davidson says the private sector provides employment and is critical in moving people out of poverty.
Pacific Island leaders, policymakers and development partners have increasingly recognised the importance of a dynamic private sector for economic growth in our region.
The private sector has to be the engine of growth. They have to drive the economy, not the government, but the private sector has to drive the economy.
Dealing with challenges that affect the growth of businesses in the Pacific are high on the agenda.
Some of our countries are very small, like a couple of thousand people. Population is very small and the economy is very small. So those countries need assistance to build their national private sector organization to a place where it can be sustainable.
The chairman says a thriving private sector will ensure economic stability in the long term. Christopher Chand, FBC News.
That time again, our man in the suit joins us with the day's sports. Jamie?
Good evening. Up ahead in sports, Flying Fijians face a tough schedule for the Pacific Nations Cup, and secondary school athletes force an expansion of the Pacific Minigame squad. Find out more after the break.
Bola, oya wasala bilawa. Dopa te kia mai na diwa kina tini karona kaloko na single boni moniti kina wagarumbuka. Kako ni valata na no musini sari na kaisa moriando loloma leone vani ni nau omgori ke de mai na diwa kina tini karona kaloko na single boni moniti kina wagarumbuka na Bula FM number 2 en sere.
जहाँ हो प्यार का बसेरा और रिश्तों की खुशबू, वो है आपका अपना घर संसार. Join me on घर संसार, Monday to Friday, 9 a.m. till 12 p.m. only on Radio Fiji 2.
Welcome back. You with FBC Sports. The first Pacific Nations Cup test for the Flying Fijians will be against the Japan side, still hurting from their loss to Tonga over the weekend. Fiji head coach Inoke Male wants to gauge his side on Saturday against the Cherry Blossoms before they head for Canada next week. Win or lose, Male says he'll be reshuffling his side for further matches to come up with new combinations. Elena McDonald reports.
This year's Pacific Nations Cup is a strenuous tour for the Flying Fijians.
We've got a 2.5-day turnaround time in Canada. This team actually plays on Saturday. They fly out on Sunday night on a 34-hour journey. Okay, so they won't be on, those boys will not be lying down in any bed for that long.
Beating Japan at Churchill Park on Saturday will be a huge confidence boost for every player, aiming to help Fiji win its first PNC, despite a hectic travelling schedule.
They get off in Canada at 9-10 a.m. in the morning. Okay, they go for recovery. The next day, it's a captain's run. And then at 6:10 the next afternoon, they play the game against Canada. And at 3 a.m. in the morning, we've got to wake them up again to check in at the airport at 5 a.m. in the morning. And then make that same 34-hour journey back to Fiji. And then prepare for the Classic All Blacks.
After the first two legs, Male gets to reshuffle his team, with the likes of Sarah Mayambai, Cyril Mbombo and Timothy Namusa returning for national duties. But no matter the situation, one fact remains. 13th ranked Fiji must do all it can to win games, to get more games, and regain the full support from its fans in Fiji and around the world. Elena McDonald, FBC Sports.
Suva Football has sounded a warning to other teams after defeating Lambasa yesterday in the Fiji Sun GP Batteries National Football League. With one more game remaining before the Vodafone Fiji Fact, the capital city side is now focused on retaining its title.
Lambasa started the league encounter yesterday on a strong note, but it didn't take long for the Whites to take command. According to coach Gurjit Singh, tactical changes to the lineup secured the 5-2 win.
We were just unlucky last week when we lost to Nandi, but we regrouped and made few changes in the team, few tactical changes, and I think that helped us. And we'll start preparing again for the Sabah game. We can't take any team lightly.
The one league game remaining this weekend allows the Suva mentor to experiment with his squad.
I'll be trying some more players. I'll be changing few more positions to see which player fits best in that position. And I heard that Aaron Wood is back in Fiji, but I haven't heard anything from him. So I'd like him to join the camp as soon as possible.
Ironically, Suva will face Lambasa in their opening pool game of the Fiji Fact.
I'm expecting a much tougher game against Lambasa this time in the Fiji Fact. Now they will regroup and they have seen their team's weakness. And they will be, I'm expecting a very tough game against them. And because both teams for both teams it will be a very important game because
Suva find themselves in a pool of death for the Fiji Fact. They have to fend off competition from Lambasa, Nandronga and Ba to make it to the semi-finals. Shalvin Chand, FBC Sports.
Outstanding performances at the secondary school finals have not gone unnoticed. In fact, it has prompted Athletics Fiji to expand its Pacific minigame squad, giving these budding athletes a chance to represent Fiji in Wallace and Futuna.
Athletics Fiji says they just could not ignore the athletes who showed potential during the secondary school games.
I mean, you can't really ignore the performance of some of the athletes during the game, so we had to include them in the squad. Some of them were already in the squad, but there were some new and upcoming athletes that weren't in the original squad, so we had to include them. So I think now we've got a new squad of about 60.
There were initial talks of reducing the team size, but now the parent body is reconsidering.
Still looking at 29, and I think we'll stick to that. Anything bigger, I think we're really trying to focus on people that's going to win us medals. You probably realize that it's an expensive task.
Miller also admits that Fiji has failed to make a mark in the middle and long distance races.
The middle is the two new 800 meters runners that we included are the two, one from Natambua and the other one from Xavier. Their times were 153, 154. So right now in the Pacific, it's pretty competitive.
With the Pacific Mini Games in September, Athletics Fiji has until the end of June to finalize its squad. Shalvin Chand, FBC Sports.
The Suva Bowling Club received a major boost ahead of the South Pacific Bowling Carnival today. ANZ Bank stepped in to donate a handsome sum of money for the tournament, which starts this weekend. Continuing a 23-year bond, ANZ Bank today handed over a $10,000 check to Suva Bowling Club. The timely boost comes just days away from the South Pacific Bowling Carnival, which starts this Friday. Organizers were happy to receive the kind donation, as they are aware of the struggles for minor sports to secure sponsorships.
We are very grateful that a bank like ANZ have come along and decided to help us, especially the sport like bowling, a minor sport like I already mentioned. We find it very hard to get sponsors to come by because of our status as being a minor sport in Fiji. But when you get an organization like ANZ with the caliber of ANZ who sponsors so big events like the European Tennis and the Rugby World Cup and all that, we feel very grateful, and we're quite grateful to them for doing so, coming on board.
The tournament starts with the Pineapple Cup this Friday and will run for 10 days. Taekwondo athletes earmarked for the Pacific Mini Games face a tough task ahead, with the Pacific team coming down in July to test the side. After the Fiji Games, all concentration has turned to preparation for the Games in Wallace and Futuna.
Taekwondo Fiji is doing everything it can to ensure that they bag medals at the Pacific Mini Games.
We finalized a lot of things. We're just waiting final word from the team from Kiribati to come down so we can sort out venue and all other things. But as soon as that's gone, we've still got another month, which is it's scheduled in July. There will be a good time to test the guys out.
The recently held Fiji Games gave the selectors an opportunity to finalize the squad.
Instead of extending, we've actually cut it down. We've only kept the cream. Because of training constraints and everything else, keeping that in mind, we only need the bulk of the main team we should be taking over.
Now that the team is in place, the management needs to get their levy together for the Mini Games.
We'll have to cut down team size just so that we can fit in as many players as we can. But we're still trying to get things done from our side.
Fiji Taekwondo hasn't been impressive in the past, but this time around the sport is making sure that they leave no stones unturned in preparing for the Mini Games. Shalvin Chand, FBC Sports.
That's it from Sports Tonight. It's back to Jackie now for business.
Investment opportunities and Fiji's debt position will be some of the issues discussed at the Fiji Institute of Accountants Annual Congress. The theme this year is Challenge of Change, and the FIA says businesses should embrace change to keep their competitive edge. President Rama Raimuria says this year's Congress should see some interesting discussions.
In discussing the changing demand of Fiji's business community in responding to social, economic, technological and legal changes, we need to adjust accordingly. In fact, businesses should embrace change. Change is important for any organization because without change, business would likely lose their competitive edge.
Westpac Bank and Vodafone Fiji have partly sponsored this year's Congress from the 7th to the 9th of June. Well, the time now, and we didn't get much sun today, did we, Jen?
Oh, you're right about that, Jackie. Rain, rain, and more rain is what greeted most of us when we woke up today. In fact, all of us really. The sun coming out in Lambasa for just a few hours this morning. Nandi was quite cool today on 24 degrees, while Suva wasn't far behind on 27. The highest today was 32. Tomorrow sees more rain and thunderstorms, and with a flash flood warning issued, it would be wise to take necessary precautions. Now, despite the dreary weather, we do have this gorgeous sunset, caught on camera by Dennis Narayan of Lautoka. It was taken at the seawall near Tanor Waterfront Hotel yesterday. Pinaka Dennis, your picture is our photo of the day. To everyone else, citizenseyes@fbc.com.fj is the email address for all your photos, showing off Fiji's natural beauty. That was weather for tonight. Catch me again tomorrow, and remember to stay safe and stay smiling.
Thanks so much for that, Genevieve. And just a quick recap of the headlines. Assessors find Penny Mao and Dhirendra Pratap not guilty of abuse of office and extortion respectively. National Archives of Fiji takes on a new project to restore historic video footage and pictures of Fiji, and motorists in Lautoka issued a warning as heavy rain results in minimal flooding in parts of the city. And let's take a look at results from last week's poll question. Is it worth Fiji playing the classic All Blacks instead of the main team for centenary celebrations? The response, the closest we've ever had. It's a tie with 50% saying yes and the other half saying no. This week's question, should Fiji have a new national anthem? To take part, visit www.fbc.com.fj. Remember, you can send us newsworthy pictures and videos on email, citizenseyes@fbc.com.fj. That's your Monday night news. I'll see you again tomorrow. Until then, good night.
आपकी शादी होने वाली है, 5 बच्चे होंगे। 5 हाय, मैं हूँ आपकी सहेली रेनू। सुनते रहिए मिर्ची FM। मैं हूँ ना 9 से 12 बजे तक।